You all set? All right, good. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming today. I'm State Representative Dan Ugasti, 65th District, representing parts of Kane and DuPage County. This is Representative Joe Sosnowski from the 69th District. Here to talk to you today about two things that actually intertwine, education and the budget. And we'll explain how they intertwine and why we believe we need to do something about both. Actually, we will address where we're probably going wrong in education and how in changing that we can help save money for the budget. In 2017, 2018, we started a program that I would call experimental in some sense, in that we started evidence-based funding here in Illinois. And while certainly warranted because we needed to even out spending in education in the state of Illinois, it was experimental in the fact that we were told always that the whole problem with education in Illinois is it needed more money. And if we just provide more money, we'd get better results. Well, this has been going on for 8 years now, and the results are in. We're not improving. It hasn't gotten any better. In fact, we have states still spending less than us that are starting to improve we haven't improved, and they're improving at a pretty good clip. So we need to start rethinking this and taking a look at it. Ever since 2017, 2018, we've been throwing about $350 million at this formula and giving the money to school districts, again, hoping to provide better results, produce better outcomes, all but 1 year in 2021. And we continue to spend more money for declining results. All in, it's almost $8.5 billion. And that's despite declining enrollment. So there's no way to sugarcoat this, no way to look at it and say, well, we just haven't done enough yet. It's just been a flop. EBF was sold as a way to close the funding gaps between the wealthiest and the poorest school districts. And we need to make certain the poorest school districts have enough money in order to fund their education. But it was supposed to provide better outcomes for all, improve education, and be a saving grace for Illinois. And unfortunately, it's proven anything but. School districts now have more money than ever, but student outcomes are not matching that investment. EBF lets education officials focus on a target of spending rather than educational achievement. And since test scores are not improving and they're dropping, and let's not look at this on a year-to-year basis and say, well, this year it improved, that year it improved a little bit. I mean, holistically, from the start until where we are right now, it's clear this needs to end. Money's not our problem, and that's been clear for a while because we've been able to track it for a while. But what do we keep doing in Illinois? We just keep throwing more money at it. We keep having people come down here and tell us even more money would be a help. Chicago wanted another $1 billion a year ago for their schools. We've never done anything to this formula. We never adjusted the hold harmless in it. You remember that's the part where we said everyone gets to start with so much money in 2017 based upon how many people are in their schools. We never adjusted that. Chicago's down nearly 72,000 people, students, since that time, and we've never adjusted this for that. Never insisted on programming educational changes. We just keep thinking more money. And this needs to end. And if it does end, there's $350 million more for a budget. Now, may we need to take a little bit of that and do something to help improve educational outcomes? I think we probably will. And will people cry? Well, the state has its primary obligation in the Constitution, or it has its obligation in the Constitution. It says we're to be the primary funder of education. Well, we can still do that. I refer you to my bill, HB 9, which would provide extra money every year to our schools and yet provide property tax relief for taxpayers here in Illinois, up to $82 billion over 20 years. This is a no-brainer. We should be doing it. It's a win-win scenario for all. So what are we supposed to do about improving education? Well, the answer is certainly not to lower our standards. There's been some discussion around that. We need to put an end to that right now. We probably need to look at other states and what they're doing. And I know there's been some argument, there's been some disagreement about this over the past week down here in Springfield, but we need to take a look at Mississippi. And in all honesty, as an Illinois resident, I'm a little bit embarrassed to say that the state of Illinois needs to look at the poorest state in the nation on how to improve our educational system, but they seem to have it figured out. They are leading the country as far as improving their test scores for 4th and 8th graders in almost every category, except one, and that's math for 8th graders, and they're still at the top. They're just not leading the nation. Most states have seen 4th grade scores plummet for their bottom 10% of students. Mississippi's the complete outlier in that. Mississippi enacted a literacy-based promotion act, which was funded by the State Department of Education to hire, train, and deploy literacy coaches to about 50 of the lowest performing school districts. It also required schools to administer universal screenings to identify students with reading deficiencies early on in order to communicate those results to parents, as well as it required students to be held back when they were not meeting grade threshold requirements. Sounds pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Ed Week reported that Mississippi spent $15 million per year in order to support this literacy work. Now, we're a bigger state. We have more students. We're about 4 times the size of Mississippi, so that equates to $60 million. If we take that out of the $350 we're putting in the EBF, we still have $290 million left to address our budget situation here in Illinois, and that's important. It's important for both education, because hopefully if we do a program like this, it will provide better outcomes the way it has in Mississippi, and we can start working towards lowering taxes, hopefully, and providing better opportunities in Illinois instead of looking to new revenue streams to fill our budget gaps that we currently have. Mississippi schools also are required to notify parents when their child is off track and to craft individual reading plans for them. And the threat of retention, accountability has worked. It's probably been both from the parents as well as the kids. What kid wants to think they might be held back and not advance with all their friends within their grade? What parent wants their kid to have to go through school too long? Nobody does. Accountability in every system is always a good thing. And those who were retained generally had better long-term outcomes. According to the nation's report card, Illinois only has 30% of its 4th graders reading at a grade level. 38% of 4th graders were at math level, 33% of 8th graders at reading level, and 32% at math level. Again, we need to do something. We have schools where no one is reading at grade level. Chicago public schools really need some reform. We have schools built for 800 or more students and maybe 50 to 100 kids attending them. We could be saving money. We could be providing better outcomes. We need to tailor programs to help these kids. Ladies and gentlemen, the time's now to end our ways of the past. These are not solutions by just throwing more money at these situations and saying we're going to fix the problem by doing this, or at least we're trying. We need to provide better education and better opportunities for our children. It's time to investigate new ways of reforming education and make sure we ask the public to pay only as much as they absolutely need to in order to provide quality education for their kids. If we do this, we're going to take the first steps in providing our children, with the tools they need to succeed in life, as well as provide them with more opportunity in Illinois as companies and businesses grow and come here more often, because we will lower our tax base, or our taxes, and increase our tax base and allow them to raise their families in Illinois as well. Now I'm going to turn it over to Representative Sosnowski to address a few other educational issues and provide some solutions. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dan. Appreciate it. As you mentioned, Joe Sosnowski, I live in Rockford, district is Winnebago, Boone, and McHenry County. And a lot of what Dan was talking about was what are we doing to look at best practices? He highlighted Mississippi and what a great job that they're doing in the educational field and huge growth for a fraction of the expense that we've done. Unfortunately, what we've seen from this governor and the majority party is it's all about throwing more money at the problem. How can we spend more without actually demanding solutions or fixes to the educational problems and achievement? I'm just going to touch base real quickly on higher education. This past school year, we've had 127,000 undergraduates enrolled. That's a 5,000 undergraduate count decrease from 2018-2019 school year. Yet, last year, we threw another $76 million at higher education. The year before that, other tens of millions of dollars. This year, the only solution the majority party and the governor has is what are we going to spend on it? Students in Illinois are choosing to go to other states for higher education. What are we doing structurally to fix that problem? As we throw more money at the problem, we're seeing our university enrollment decrease. There's only a handful of universities, University of Illinois, ISU, and maybe one other, that have actually seen an enrollment increase. Many of our universities are 40% less than they used to be 10 years ago. This points to huge structural problems in what we're doing with spending our money on higher education. Also want to just kind of go back through K through 12. Dan did a great job highlighting some of the performance problems that we've had and how throwing hundreds of millions of additional dollars to K through 12 has not been helpful. As we look across the country, there's a growing number of schools that are expanding true school choice. Unfortunately, we had school choice here in Illinois until the governor and the majority party deleted the program. That program was serving tens of thousands of students and was showing great success and a lot of interest. What we've seen in other states, and I'll just point out a couple, dramatic increases. Florida, their Family Empowerment Scholarship program, along with some others, now has over 350,000 students taking advantage of some sort of school choice program. Iowa, our small neighbor, offers $7,500 per student to be able to be used at private schools. 28,000 students are taking advantage of this program. This doubled in just 1 year. Texas just recently passed an initiative. They're going to set $1 billion towards true school choice, which is going to serve over 100,000 students in its first year. The fact is, many states across the country are looking at these options just to offer choice. It's not going to be for everybody. But even here in Illinois, we're not even doing some of the simple things that we could in the public arena. States like New York and California, they offer choice within their public school systems. You have a failing school, like Dan outlined, we have 38 schools, I think, in the Chicago public school system that aren't educating their students at reading. They're not achieving reading level. These parents have no option to leave that public school and go to a different school that's better performing. New York and California both offer that. Why isn't this governor offering that as an option? Why isn't the governor offering more options for expanding charter schools and creating more charter school opportunities in the public school arena? Why do we have a mayor in Chicago who's trying to shut down high-performing magnet schools and the governor who's not standing up and saying, hey, we need to keep these? Regardless of zip code and income, children across all demographics need to have this opportunity. And when we see true school choice, such as in Florida, over 55% of the students are of Hispanic or African American background. These are extremely popular programs. Over 65% of polls come back and say, we want school choice. Again, why is the governor ignoring what people want in Illinois? So at this time, we'll turn it over to questions.